Peace and shalom, Israel. Before we start the lesson, hit the notification button because we upload lessons every week and I don't want you to miss a single one of them. Like, comment, subscribe, and if there's a topic you would like for us to cover, we'll see what we can do. So until next time, cue the music. All praises to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and peace to everyone joining us on this program. This is the Fountain of Israel Bible Studies program, and as always, it's an honor for me to stand before you on the Lord's holy Sabbath day. And this lesson is going to be entitled Obedience Over Sacrifice. Obedience over sacrifice. And we're going to jump right in there. One of the reasons why I wanted to do it is because I don't want us to get, lackadaisical in our obedience towards Him. In fact, we should do everything that we possibly can. I mean, I know some of us, we slip, we fall, we stumble. Just like with all the prophets and the apostles and things like that, they slip and fall. The difference is they didn't make a practice of it. They didn't make a practice of disobeying or just treating the law just willy-nilly, right? So ultimately, the blessing ultimately is that since you don't make a practice of it, it is better to simply obey, simply just do what it says, rather than offering up your prayers or offering up a sacrifice or anything like that. I know most of us don't offer a physical sacrifice, but whether we do prayer and fasting, things like that, we take a vow or something like that to appease, and I get that. So it is better that we be on the side of obedience rather than always sacrificing, because when we look in the past, we see that there are all kinds of offerings, right? All kinds of sacrifices, peace offerings, drink offerings, free will offerings, and meat offerings. It's all these different offerings because of some sort of transgression, right? There's offerings just in case, okay? There was just in case type of offerings, I'm not sure, just in case. It's kind of like when Job did it, and the Levitical priesthood did it as well. It's like, okay, just in case. So what we want to do is we want to focus on the obedience side of this thing, and really take residence on the obedience side rather than keeping residence on the sacrifice side, okay? I'm not condemning you if you make some sort of mistake. We all stumble and fall, okay? I'm not condemning anyone for that. But what I'm saying is that where your residence should be, where you should reside, where you should be most of the time, as much as humanly possible, is on the obedience side. Obedience, 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 because that's what He looks like. That's what He looks at, okay? Because that's who you are. If you're on the obedience side and you're striving, that's who you are, okay? Because you're trying to be there. You're trying to be a particular type of person so that you don't behave in such a way that profanes His name, right? Obedience is better than sacrifice. If it was all you do is just mess up willy-nilly and be like, oh well, it doesn't matter, it's cool, I just pray, I just cross my heart and all this other stuff, and it's just no big deal. Let me throw up a couple of Hail Marys. I know you're not Catholic, but you get my point, right? If you reside in that area where people can't even tell the difference, between you and a heathen, they can't really tell the difference because there is no difference in your behavior. There's no difference in your speech, and your speech is really not as important as your behavior. So I'll just stick with behavior. No one can see, or more importantly, not us. More importantly, the Most High can't see the difference between you and a heathen, between you who say you try to obey what He says and someone who don't care two dead flies on whether or not they obey Him or not. Couldn't care less over the Torah. If He can't tell the difference between you and that person, that's a problem. So you want to reside in the area of obedience. Stay in that lane. Get in the lane of obedience. You veer off sometime, then you can correct yourself and get back where you're supposed to be. Okay? Stumble, fall up, dust yourself off, get back where you're supposed to be. Okay? But if you just stay over there, then that's just who you are. And we can't tell the difference. You can't tell the difference between you and a pagan, heathen, no good. Okay? You can't tell the difference there. Then that's just who you are. Stay in the right lane. Obedience over sacrifice. Okay? And with that, I'm gonna go ahead and start actually where this whole title comes from, and what we're gonna focus on is 1 Samuel, right? So just go to 1 Samuel 15. Where are we here? There we go. 1 Samuel 15, and I'm just going right to where I get this the title from, right? 1 Samuel, I'm at 14, so 1 Samuel 15, and then we're just gonna go right over to 22. And it says, and Samuel said, has the Lord the great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices, as in obeying the voice of the Lord? Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to hearken than the fat of rams, which is a parallel language. He's basically said the same thing in those two verses, right? So he's just saying, better to obey. He said to obey, okay, do what he says, do what the word says, or do what he says, is better than to make a sacrifice, basically an appeasement or apology. I'm sorry that I didn't do it. It's better than sacrifice, or to hearken, to listen than to the fat of rams, or to make a sacrifice. To listen to what he says is better than making a sacrifice, because making a sacrifice means you didn't listen. It means you messed up. It means you transgressed. Okay, so it is better to simply obey. You know what it is, study the word, this is what it is. Okay, I'm just sticking with that. Okay, that's it. Okay, so let's continue. Going over to Second Corinthians. 2 Corinthians. Let's see here. Okay. 2 Corinthians, and let's go to chapter 10. 2 Corinthians chapter 10. Okay, and I get to 10. I'm just going to read the first 6 verses. 2 Corinthians chapter 10. It says, moreover, brethren, I would not that you should be ignorant, how that all our fathers were under the cloud, and all passed through the sea, and were all baptized unto, okay, I'm in first, I'm sorry. Correction, I'm in 1 Corinthians, let's go over to 2nd. I know some of you guys caught that faster than I did. I just kept reading. So that's all right. We're going to get on track here. Okay, so 2 Corinthians, let me get 10. All right, 10. All right, let's start 2 Corinthians 10 actually. Verse 1, now I Paul myself beseech ye by the meekness and gentleness of Christ, who in present am based among you, but being absent and bold toward you. But I beseech you that I may not be bold when I am present with that confidence, wherewith I think to be bold against some which think of us as if we were walking according to flesh. So they think we're doing wrong. For though we walk in the flesh, we do not war after the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds, casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalted itself against the knowledge of God, and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Christ. Bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Christ, and having in a readiness to revenge all disobedience when your obedience is fulfilled. Obedience over sacrifice. See, there's an obedience unto the law, obedience unto as unto Christ, which is having that faith, right? Because Christ, he's not going to tell you not to obey, Torah. He's not going to tell you, he teaches you Torah. He's not going to tell you not to obey Torah. So it is having faith in him, trusting that he's Messiah and the propitiation of our sins. Because we already know in John, he says, if you love me, you keep my commandments. So we're good there, okay? We're square there, right? So obedience over sacrifice. Let's keep that in mind. We're going to go back Old Testament. We're going to get into the Torah and stuff like that. But I just wanted you to keep that in mind, right? And we're going to get back to that. Let's go to Hebrews chapter 5. Okay, And when we get to Hebrews chapter 5, I want to read verse 1 through 10. Right? Hebrews 5, we're just going to go 1 through 10. Okay? For every high priest taken from among men is ordained for men in things pertaining to God, that he may offer both gifts and sacrifices for sins. And who can have compassion on the ignorant and on them that are out of the way? For that he himself also is compassed with infirmity. And by reason hereof he ought, as for the people, so also for himself to offer for sins. And no man taketh this honor unto himself, but he that is called of God, as was Aaron. Okay, so no one's just going to take this and say, okay, I'm just going to, do this just willy-nilly. It's if you do this because you are called of God. Like right now, people should not stand in the stead of Levi, of Aaron, right? You shouldn't stand in this whole, because you don't even know if you're Levi, right? So you don't want to try to do the job of a Levite and you don't even know you're a Levite, right? Because you had to be a Levite to go into the innermost parts of the tabernacle. I know we don't have a tabernacle right now, but you follow what I'm saying. You had to be a Levite to do that. You had to be a high priest to go into the Holy of Holies, right? And you can only do that at the appointed time. Only at the appointed time unless you die, right? So he said, so basically he's saying nobody's just going to take this on all willy-nilly. He said, and no man taketh this honor unto himself, but he that is called of God, as was Aaron. So also Christ glorified not himself to be made a high priest, but he that said unto him, thou art my son, today have I begotten thee. So he's just saying Christ himself, the Messiah, didn't just simply say, oh, I'm the high priest. Y'all just, no. He let the Father anoint him. He let the Father say, you are a high priest. Okay? I'll accept your offering. It's kind of like at the end of the book of Job when the Most High was saying, hey, listen, you talking about Job's friends, you guys go to Job and have him pray for you. Go to the last chapter in Job. Go to him and let him pray for you, and I'll listen to him. I'm not listening to you. I'll listen to him, right? So that's what he's saying. So the Father, he put the Messiah in that place, right? As he said also in another place, thou art a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek, who in the days of his flesh, when he had offered up prayers and supplication with strong crying and tears unto him that was able to save him from death, and that was heard in that he feared. Though he were a son, yet learned he obedience by the things which he suffered. He was teaching obedience, meaning he submitted himself to the will of the Father. He submitted himself to the will of the Father. That's his obedience, right? And being made perfect, he became the author of eternal salvation unto all them that what? Obey him. Obedience over sacrifice. Obedience over sacrifice. Keep that in mind. And called of God a high priest after the order of Melchizedek, okay? Not after the Levitical priesthood, after the order of Melchizedek, okay? An eternal priesthood, okay? Because, Messiah, he came from the line of Judah, not the Levites, right? So that's why he's after the order of Melchizedek, not after the order of the Levites, because he wasn't a Levite, right? And he didn't just take that on himself. Oh, I'm just going to be the high priest, it's my show now. He didn't just do that, okay? The Father bestowed that upon him, okay? Let's remember that. He bestowed that upon him, okay? So we're going to continue. Let's go to the beginning, right? Now, let's go to the beginning. Genesis 6. Genesis chapter 6. And I'm going to read verses 1 through 13. Let's see how all this stuff came to be, okay? Let's see how all this came together, right? 6 and 1 through 13. And it says, and it came to pass, when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair. And they took them wives of all which they chose. And the Lord said, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. And there were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them. The same became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown. And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And it repented the Lord that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him at his heart. And the Lord said, I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast, and the creeping things and the fowls of the air. For it repented me that I have made them. So he regretted. He said, I regret making them at the time. But Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord, and these are the generations of Noah. And Noah was a just man and perfect in his generation, and Noah walked with God. I mean, he did everything that the Most High wanted him to do. Everything that the Lord said for him to do, he was doing it. Because why was he considered just? Just obeying the voice. That's why. It said he was perfect, right? Now, perfect, is mature. Okay? Said he was perfect. You know what? Let me go over there 1 second here. We'll find grace in the eyes, just and a perfect man. 6 and 9. Genesis 6 and 9. Go ahead and go to that real quick. Let's take a look at that. Genesis 6 and 9. All right. And perfect is Hebrew 85:49. Okay. Complete, whole, entire, sound. Okay. Healthful, complete, wholesome, okay, unimpaired, innocent, having integrity, okay. What is complete entirely, what is complete or entirely in accord with truth and fact, okay. That's the lexicon. In the Strong's, it says entire, okay. Also without blemish, complete, full, perfect, okay. Sincerely or sincerity, without spot, undefiled, upright, whole, okay. So this is how it describes Noah in this, okay? Perfect in his generation, and Noah walked with God. And Noah begat 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. The earth was corrupt before God, and the earth was filled with violence. And God looked upon the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, for all the flesh had corrupted his way upon the earth. And God said unto Noah, the end of all flesh is come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them. And behold, I will destroy them with the earth. I will destroy them with the earth. So now Most High's fed up. He's like, you know what? I'm not gonna deal with man. This is getting crazy too fast. They're getting exceedingly wicked. And you're the only one I can deal with right now. You're the only one that is obedient, that is just, that is perfect. Okay? That is mature. That is just doing what I say to do. That's how he found favor. Okay? Let's continue. Now we're going to go to Exodus 20. Okay? So we know that's where we find the Big Ten, as well as other laws as well, because the laws are all over. So Exodus 20, and we're going to go we're going to start at verse 1 in Exodus 20, right? I'll start at 1 and read all the way down, maybe skip 1, but then go all the way down to 19. Verse 1, it reads this way. It said, and God spake all these words, saying, I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Okay, so those are house of bondage, Egypt, same thing, right? Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them, for I am the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the 3rd and 4th generation of them that hate me, and show mercy unto thousands of them that love me, and keep my commandments, are important, so that are obedient. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days thou shalt labor and do all thy works, but the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that is in them, and rested the 7th day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. And thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. 18. And all the people saw the thundering and the lightnings and the noise of the trumpet and the mountains smoking. And when they saw it, they removed and stood afar off, meaning they ran. They got out of there quickly, right? And 19. And they said unto Moses, Speak thou with us, and we will hear, but let not God speak with us, lest we die. So these original commandments, they heard from the Most High himself. This was not coming out of the mouth of Moses. They heard this. And they saw the thundering and the lightning and all this. And they said, you know what? Moses, you talk to us. We'll listen to you. Whatever he says to do, we'll listen to you, but we don't want to hear from him because we're going to die. I mean, they're just so afraid, right? So originally, Israel had the connection directly to God, was able to hear him directly. But they chose to give that up. But they did promise that they were going to be obedient. So what are you going to choose? Now they said it real quick. And see, that's the thing. We think it's no big deal. Think about this. Every time you mess up, imagine this. I want you to imagine this. Every time you mess up, what if you heard the audible voice of God? The same as you're hearing me right now, right? It's clear as day, right? It's clear as day, crystal clear. Every time you messed up and he says something to you. And he says, that's your transgression. You messed up. I don't like that. If you actually heard him, just how much more obedient would you and I be? How much more? And they agreed here. Yeah, we'll do it. We'll be obedient. Let's go to James. James. James chapter 1. James chapter 1. When we get to chapter 1, I'm going to pick it up at verse 21. We're going to 21 to 25 in James chapter 1. 21 says, Wherefore, laying apart all filthiness and superfluity of naughtiness, and receive with meekness the engrafted word, which is able to save your souls. But be ye doers of the word, and not hearers only, deceiving your own selves. For if any be a hearer of the word and not a doer, he is like unto a man beholding his natural face in a glass. For he beholdeth himself and goeth his way, and straightway forgetteth what manner of man he was. But whoso looketh into the perfect law of liberty, so we're talking about Moses' law, right? We just started to read the law of liberty right there, found in the Exodus, right? In the perfect law of liberty, and continue it therein, he being not a forgetful hearer, but a doer of the work, this man shall be blessed in his deed. In the things that he does, he will be blessed. That same man will be blessed. We're starting to see obedience better than sacrifice. Obedience over sacrifice, right? So he was just saying, if you are a doer of the word, to be a doer and not just a hearer. Internalize it. Get it inside of you. Live it. Be it. Reflect it. Deuteronomy, we were at, that was just Deuteronomy chapter 6. Go with me to Deuteronomy chapter 6. I understand we all have some work to do, okay? A lot of work to do, I know. But that's why we have to strive, we have to struggle, we have to keep going, get better, get a little better every day, a little better every single day. right? So now I'm in Deuteronomy 6. I'm going to start at verse 1, then we'll jump around a little bit. 6 verse 1, it says this. Now these are the commandments, the statutes and the judgments which the Lord your God commanded to teach you. And it says it like that because Deuteronomy chapter 5 is like a retelling of Exodus 20, right? It's a retelling of. So if you read chapter 5 and you go here, then you know what he's talking about in context, right? That you might do them in the land which ye go to possess it. That thou mightest fear the Lord, verse 2, that the Lord might fear the Lord thy God, to keep all his statutes and his commandments, which I command thee, thou and thy son's son, all the days of thy life, and that thy days may be prolonged. Hear therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with thee, and that ye may increase mightily. And the Lord God of thy fathers hath promised thee, in the land that floweth with milk and honey. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. And thou shalt love thy Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy might. And these words which I command thee this day shall be in thine heart. And thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, and shalt talk of them when thou sittest in thy house, and when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up. And thou shalt bind them for a sign upon thy hand, and they shall be as frontlets between thine eyes. And thou shalt write them upon the post of thy house and on thy gates. And it shall be when the Lord thy God shall have brought thee into the land which he sware unto your fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, to give thee great and goodly cities, which thou buildest not. Okay, so he's just going to give that to you, right? And we're at 10, I'm going to drop down to 17 to 24. 17 reads this. And you shall diligently keep the commandments of the Lord your God, and his testimonies, and his statutes, which he has commanded thee. And we're going to drop down to 24. We're going to read 24 and 25, which says, And the Lord commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear the Lord our God for our good always, that he might preserve us alive as it is at this day. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before the Lord our God, as he has commanded us. Okay, so they already said, if we obey, this is going to be a good thing. So they've already said it. If we obey, so they know what they're supposed to do. They got their marching orders. They got the words to live by. They got the words of life. He's going to save us alive, prolong our life, bless us, all that, right? We have that. We have all that. Problem is, Israel don't always stick to the plan. Would you agree with that? Israel doesn't always just simply stick to the plan. Even today, what's going on today? Do we as Israel stick to the plan? Because we got the playbook right now. We got the playbook right here. We got the playbook right here. But Israel doesn't always stick to the plan. That's the problem. We're going to continue. Leviticus. Let's go back a couple of books. Let's go to Leviticus chapter 11. And from 11, we're going to jump around a little bit. Let's read verse 1 and 2 real quick of 11. And it says, And the Lord spake unto Moses and to Aaron, saying unto them, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, These are the beasts which ye shall eat among all the beasts that are on the earth. Okay? Whatsoever parteth the hoof, and is cloven-footed, and cheweth the cud among the beasts, that shall ye eat. Nevertheless, these shall ye not eat of them that chew the cud, and of them that divided the hoof, as the camel, because he chewed the cud, but divided not the hoof. He is unclean unto you. And the coney, because he cheweth the cud, but divided not the hoof, he is unclean to you. And the hare, because he cheweth the cud, but divided not the hoof, he is unclean unto you. And the swine, though he divided the hoof, and be cloven-footed, yet he cheweth not the cud, he is unclean unto you. Of their flesh shall ye not eat, and their carcass shall ye not touch, they are unclean to you. And these are, so he goes through the whole, what you can eat, what you shouldn't eat, things like that. So we kind of go through that. Let me jump around a little bit. Let's jump all the way to 44. Okay, so you have the idea there, right? So let's go to 44. And it says, I am the Lord your God. Ye shall therefore sanctify yourselves, make yourselves set apart, and ye shall be holy, for I am holy. Neither shall ye defile yourself with any manner of creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. Okay, so he's just telling us the things that we, the things that we can eat, but look at the dietary law is one of the ways you are holy, and one of the ways that you are obedient. If you're obedient to the dietary law, you're considered holy. Not the words that you speak, not your nose, not your finger and your nose in the air. That's not what makes you holy. Your attitude doesn't make you holy. Your obedience makes you holy. Your character makes you holy. Okay, particularly in this context, the dietary law makes you holy, right? Let's continue, 45. For I am the Lord that bringeth you out of the land of Egypt to be your God, and ye shall therefore be holy, for I am holy. Now the whole thing is talking about the dietary law, okay? In this chapter, Leviticus chapter 11 is the dietary law. He's telling you how to be holy, what you eat, your character, what you do, right? This is the law of the beast, the fowl, and of every little creature that creepeth in the waters, and every creature that creepeth upon the earth, to make the difference between the clean, the unclean, and the clean, between the beast that may be eaten and the beast that may not be eaten. Now you got some people who are pretty extreme. On a quick aside, you have some people who are pretty extreme and they don't want you to eat flesh whatsoever, right? They're like, oh, well, this, we're all God's creatures. They're the strict, vegetarians and stuff like that. I mean, we were never supposed to, eat flesh and stuff. You had some young lady on Facebook or whatever. I didn't respond or anything like that, but I didn't go back and forth. I generally don't. I may ask a question here or there, but I did not leave it alone. But she was like, but the enemy, Satan tricked us all into eating meat. He tricked us all. And I was like, you have any scriptures for that? I said, is there a scripture that says eating meat is a sin? So I asked that. I said, is there a scripture that says eating meat is a sin? And of course they go into their own little rhetoric, obviously no scriptures, obviously. They say, no, well, Satan just tricked us all, we shouldn't eat it. And I'm like, okay, so but where does it say that? Just read your Bible, brother. Just read your Bible. After that, I just left it alone. I left it alone. It's one thing to say something. It's another thing to prove it. It's one thing to feel so strongly about something, and an entirely different matter to prove what it is that you say you believe. It's two different things, right? But I do agree that obedience is better than sacrifice. Obedience is better than sacrifice. I will hear what she had to say, but she had to show where eating meat is sin. Then I would obey that. I know there's certain types of meat I cannot eat, but I can't say all meats are forbidden. I can't say that. That obedience is better than sacrifice. Okay, let's go to Leviticus 23, where we find, the holy days and stuff like that. Let's take a look at this, right? We're not going to read all of it. We're going to jump around a little bit, but let's look at this real quick, okay? Let's do 1 through 7 real quick. And it says, and the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them concerning the feasts of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations, even these are my feasts. 6 days shall work be done, but the 7th day is the Sabbath of rest, a holy convocation, and ye shall do no work therein, is the Sabbath of the Lord in all your dwellings. These are the feasts of the Lord, even holy convocations, which ye shall proclaim in their seasons. And in the 14th day of the first month, at even is the Lord's Passover. At even, it starts at even, right? At night. Is the Lord's Passover. And in the 15th day of the 7th month is a feast of unleavened bread. Unto the Lord 7 days you must eat unleavened bread. In the first day ye shall have a holy convocation, and ye shall do no servile work therein, right? So we're going to jump all the way over to 15, if you will. And ye shall count unto you from tomorrow after the Sabbath, from the day that ye brought the sheaf of the wave offering, 7 Sabbaths shall be complete. Even unto the morrow after the 7th Sabbath shall ye number 50 days. Okay, 7 Sabbaths, 7 weeks, 49. and a day, right? 50. And ye shall offer a new meat offering unto the Lord. Okay, so we have that much, right? So you have that. 17, and we're going to drop down to 23. Okay, let's drop down to 23. 23 says, and the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, saying, in the 7th month, in the 1st day of the month, ye shall have a Sabbath, a memorial, the blowing of the trumpets, even a holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work therein, but ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. Okay, so we're starting to get it. 27. In 27 says, also on the 10th day of the 7th month, ye shall be a day of atonement, and it shall be a holy convocation unto you, and ye shall afflict your souls, an offering made by fire unto the Lord. Okay, so this is going through these holy days. We're going to go 33 to 37, but this is going through this holy days, right? So we did dietary law, be obedient to that. We're doing holy days starting at 33, right? We're picking up at 33. It says, and the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, saying, the 15th day of this 7th month shall be the Feast of Tabernacles for 7 days unto the Lord. And on the 1st day ye shall have a holy convocation, ye shall do no servile work therein. And in 7 days ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. On the 8th day shall be a holy convocation unto you. And ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord, and it is a solemn assembly, and ye shall do no servile work therein. These are the feasts of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations, to offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord, a burnt offering and a meat offering and a sacrifice and drink offerings and everything upon his day. Okay, so look at all the things he pointed out: what you can eat, what you cannot eat. He pointed out how to observe certain days at a certain time of the year, and he wants us to do this as a memorial forever. From generation to generation to generation, forever. So the question is, are we going to obey that or not? Because we're a very festive people. Look at what happened when you look at people out in the world right now. What do? They're out in the club, they're in the beaches, they're in bars, they're just partying, just having a good time, going crazy. Look at the season that we're in right now. And just celebrating stuff. I know that, the pandemic put a little damper on it to an extent, but people are still, no matter what, people still are going to party and be festive. So my question is, how come we can't be festive on those days that he tells us to? How come we can't observe the days that he tells us to, that he actually allows us to do these things? And then we downplay it. But you didn't downplay the other stuff. You didn't downplay all these other pagan ideas, these other pagan holidays, these other festivals that mean absolutely nothing. They mean absolutely nothing, but still, let's continue. We got a little bit more. Okay, Ephesians chapter 6. Ephesians chapter 6. And when we get to Ephesians chapter 6, I'm going to read the first 3 verses. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor thy father and thy mother, which is the first commandment with promise, that it may be well with thee, and thou mayest live long on the earth. Because some parents don't play. Some parents are very, very serious, and you better obey them, or else you get hurt. Okay, it's really that simple. It's really that simple. Now, again, I'm not advocating, hey, abuse and this and that. I'm just saying, in context, that you may have a long life. Heck, you go back to Torah, there's times where a child was just, disobedient, obstinate, rebellious, and whatever, and you took them to the elders and you killed them. Okay? So that's how serious it is. We make it a little light in the New Testament and stuff like that, but, in the law, if you were in the land, hey, these children would not be out of control if we were back in those days. It would not be out of control. You wouldn't have this a rebellious child. Okay? You wouldn't have to worry about your son being no good, lazy, playing video games all day, getting in trouble, not doing their work and stuff like that. You wouldn't have to worry about that back then. You wouldn't have to worry about your daughter out there, half dressed, basically uncovered. You wouldn't have to worry about that in ancient Israel, excuse me. You have to worry about that. Now, of course, in some instances, you don't have to worry about that, for some people, because there's some communities out there that really, they're really, insulated, and you have some righteous, young ladies, little girls, and some righteous young men out there, those who are insulated, those who are serious about the work. Those who are really, really serious about the work. And you don't have to too much worry about that. Let us continue. After Ephesians, we're going to go ahead and go to 1 Kings 13. 1 Kings chapter 13. Okay, 1 Kings 13. All right, one second here. Okay, we have 1 Kings chapter 13. We'll start at verse 1 and read to 22. It says, Behold, there came a man of God out of Judah by the word of the Lord unto Bethel. And Jeroboam stood by the altar to burn incense. And he cried against the altar in the word of the Lord and said, O altar, altar, thus said the Lord, Behold, a child shall be born unto the house of David, Josiah by name. And upon thee shall the offer of the priests of the high places that burn incense upon thee, and men's bones shall be burnt upon thee. And he gave a sign the same day, saying, This is the sign which the Lord has spoken. Behold, the altar shall be rent, and the ashes that are upon it shall be poured out. And it came to pass, when King Jeroboam heard the saying of the man of God, which had cried against the altar in Bethel, that he put forth his hand from the altar, saying, Lay hold on him. And his hand, which he put forth against him, dried up, so that he could not pull it in again to him. The altar also was rent, and the ashes poured out from the altar, according to the sign which the man of God had given by the word of the Lord. And the king answered and said unto the man of God, Entreat now the face of the Lord thy God, and pray for me, that my hand may be restored me again. And the man of God besought the Lord, and the king's hand was restored him again, and became as it was before. And the king said unto the man of God, Come home with me, and refresh thyself, and I will give thee a reward. And the man of God said unto the king, If thou wilt give me half thine house, I will not go in with thee, neither will I eat bread nor drink water in this place. For so was it charged me by the word of the Lord, saying, Eat no bread, nor drink water, nor turn again by the same way that thou camest. So he went another way, and returned not by the way that he came to Bethel. Notice what he's doing. Okay, follow the man of God. Now dwelt an old prophet in Bethel, and his sons came and told him all the works that the man of God had done that day in Bethel. The words which he had spoken unto the king, them they told also to their father. And their father said unto them, What way went he? And his sons had seen what way the man of God went, which came from Judah. And he said unto his sons, Saddle me the ass. And they saddled him the ass, and he rode thereon. And went after the man of God, and found him sitting under an oak. And he said unto him, Art thou the man of God that camest from Judah? And he said, I am. Then he came, and he said unto him, Come home with me, and eat bread. And he said, I may not return with thee, nor go in with thee, neither will I eat bread, nor drink water with thee in this place. For it was said to me by the word of the Lord, that thou eat no bread, nor drink water there, nor turn again to go by the way that thou camest. And he said unto him, I am a prophet also, as thou art. And the angel spake unto me by the word of the Lord, saying, bring him back with thee into thine house, that they may eat bread and drink water. But he lied unto him. So he went back with him, and did eat bread in his house, and drank water. And it came to pass, as they sat at the table, that the word of the Lord came unto the prophet that brought him back. And he cried unto the man of God that came from Judah, saying, thus said the Lord, forasmuch as thou hast disobeyed the mouth of the Lord, and hast not kept the commandment which the Lord thy God commanded thee, but camest back, and hast eaten bread and drink water in the place of the which the Lord did say to thee, eat no bread and drink no water, thy carcass shall not come unto the sepulchre of thy fathers. Look, just like that. Because he obeyed. I mean, the man lied to him, but what did the Most High say to you? What did the Lord say to you? Forget what everyone else is doing. Forget that. Don't worry about what everyone else is doing. What did he say to you? Now I know collectively there are some things, okay? Collectively, we can go to Torah, right? They're collectively some things that we should all do, okay? All right? Keep Torah, keep faith in Messiah, right? Got it. But then he deals with us individually. Why? Because we have different situations. We live in different places. We have different backgrounds. We have different finances. A little bit different, right? So he deals with us a little bit different, just a little bit. Okay? Just because he told me to do something in particular doesn't mean he's telling you to do something. Just because he told you to do something in particular doesn't mean that's for me to do, okay? Now, we're not talking about disobeying, Torah and nothing like that, okay? That's community, okay? That's a corporate, these are corporate, right? You're talking about Torah. I'm talking about telling you something individual, okay? It could be something as simple as, okay, you need to move across the street, right? He's not telling everybody to move across the street. He might be telling you to move across the street. He may be telling me to move across the street. But that's it. You see what I'm saying? So what is he saying to you individually? And whatever he's saying to you individually, you stick to that. Doesn't matter what anyone else says. You pray about it. You got your confirmation. You confirm his word. That's it. That is your word. That's what he tells you. And if you go against that, then you're disobeying him. So my question to you is, what is he telling you? And somebody say, well, Pastor Robert, I don't know. I can't really hear his voice. I can't, sometimes we got to get quiet. Sometimes we got to get real quiet. Sometimes we really got to pray. Sometimes we got to fast. Sometimes we got to study. But one of the things I know, we have to get quiet. You might need to fast. You might need to meditate. You need to get quiet. I heard someone say before that it's the silence between the notes that make the music. Sometimes you have to get quiet so you can hear what he's trying to tell you. Because sometimes we are suffering and we're suffering and we're suffering because we can't hear what he's saying, so we're constantly disobeying, right? We don't even know what he's saying, but we're going against whatever it is that he's saying, but we're constantly disobeying. And for those of us who actually know what he's saying to us, and yet you disobey, that's a problem. That's a problem. Let us continue. Proverbs 16. Okay, so we're going to go Proverbs 16. Proverbs 16. All right. So Proverbs 16, I'm going to pick it up at verse 1. We're going to jump around a little bit, but it's going to be 1 through 3. So it's going to be the preparations of the heart in man, and the answer of the tongue is from the Lord. Okay? All the ways of man are clean in his own eyes, but the Lord weigheth the spirit. Commit thy works unto the Lord, and thy thoughts shall be established. So remember, this is how you figure it out. Okay, what does he want me to do? What is he expecting of me? Okay, let's jump down to verse 9. Okay, we're going to jump 9 then to 11. 9 says, and a man's heart devises his way, but the Lord directs his steps. Okay, and 11, a just weight and a balance are the Lord's. All the weights of the bag are his work. Okay, We're going to do 16 through 20. And how much better is it to get wisdom than gold, and to get understanding rather to be chosen than silver? The highway of the upright is to depart from evil. He that keepeth his way preserveth his soul. Okay, this is the things we should do. Pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. Better it is to be of a humble spirit with the lowly than to divide the spoils with the proud. Okay, and 20. And he that handleth the matter wisely shall find good, and whosoever trusteth in the Lord, happy is he. Okay, we'll continue. This proverb just has a lot of wisdom for us. There's a whole lot of meat on the bone we can get out of that. Verse 23. It says, the heart of the wise teacheth his mouth, and added learning to his lips. And 25, it says, there is a way that seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. Okay, this is because we're trying to get our heart right. We got to get our heart established, pointed in the right direction, right? So let's go 27 and 29. It says, an ungodly man diggeth up evil, and in his lips there is a burning fire. A froward man soweth strife, and a whisperer separated chief friends. Okay, gossiper, talebearer, stirring up trouble. A violent man entices his neighbor, and leadeth him into the way that is not good. That leadeth him in a way that is not good. Okay, let's go 31 and 32. And the hoary head is a crown of glory, if it be found in the way of righteousness. So you got old wise, you've been living the right way. Okay, living according to the obedience of the Father, right? That is righteous, right? 32. And he that is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he that ruleth his spirit than he that taketh a city. Who that just haughty, because you got people out. We got some wicked brothers out there, man. We got some wicked brothers out there, right? So I'm gonna drop back to verse 7 in chapter 16 of Proverbs. It says, and when a man's ways please the Lord, he maketh even his enemies to be at peace with him. Sometimes you just have people, they just leave you alone. It's like, hey, you are working for the Lord, you're doing your thing. It's like, you know what? Leave that guy alone. He's all right. He's a good guy. Just let's leave him alone. That happens. That happens to people. Happens at work. It happens to people in jail. It happens when your ways please the Lord, even the people who don't like you, it will at least leave you alone. At least just leave you alone. This is how we see it all the time. This is how you know. We see it all the time. Let's continue. Okay. Ephesians 2. Ephesians chapter 2. There we go. Ephesians chapter 2, first 3 verses. And you has he quickened, who were dead in trespasses and sin. That's you and I. Wherein in times past ye walk according to the course of this world, according to the prince of the power of the air, the spirit that now worketh in the children of what? Disobedience. Among whom also we all had our conversation in times past in the lust of our flesh, fulfilling the desires of the flesh and of the mind, and were by nature the children of wrath, even as others. We used to look just like everyone else. Remember what I was saying earlier, okay, in my discourse, and I was just saying that if he can't tell between you and the heathen, that's a problem. And right here in Ephesians 2, he's saying, you used to look just like, look at your old life. Look at your old life before you came into the knowledge of the truth. And did you not look like everybody else? That's the difference. You look like everyone else. You did everything that they did. You celebrated everything that they celebrated. You partied just like they partied. Did everything that they did. Now I know some of you are, what they would say, just squares, uncool, stuff like that. You may not have done that, but before when you didn't follow the Bible, when you were not obedient to the word. Okay, there was a time, there was a person, there's a version of you that was before the truth of the scriptures. That is to say, there was a time when you were one of the children of disobedience. All of us were. So now we strive to try to be a child of obedience. That's what we need to do. Okay, we're going to keep going. Let's go to Galatians. Let's go back one book. Okay, Galatians, I'm going to go chapter 5. I'm going to start at 15. I'm going to read 15 to 26. But he says this. But if ye bite and devour one another, take heed that ye be not consumed one of another. This I say then, walk in the Spirit, and ye shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. For the flesh lusteth after the Spirit, against the Spirit, and the Spirit against the flesh. And these are contrary the one to another, so that ye cannot do the things that ye would. But if ye be led of the Spirit, ye are not under the law of the flesh. Now, the works of the flesh are manifest, which are these: adultery, fornication, uncleanness, lasciviousness, idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, variance, emulation, wrath, strife, sedition, heresies, envy, murders, drunkenness, reveling, and such like, of which I tell you before, as I have also told you in times past, that they which do such things shall not inherit the kingdom of God. Shall not inherit the kingdom of God. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law. And they that are Christ have crucified the flesh with the affections and lusts. If we live in the Spirit, let us also walk in the Spirit. Let us not be desirous of vainglory, provoking one another, envying one another. So when they tell me, oh, well, you do this and you live by the Spirit and you're not on the law. That's not talking about the perfect law of liberty. They're talking about the law of flesh. Okay, go to Romans chapter 7, right? They tell you there's two different sets of laws. See, laws of the flesh are the ones that will commit these types of sins. And then he even gives us the courteous, talking about Paul, he even gives us the courtesy to let us know what is he talking about. When you're talking about this other law, talking about the law of the flesh, right? Right there in context. But if you be led of the Spirit, you are not under the law of flesh, right? Because now the works of the flesh, so what he just changed? He just changed subject all of a sudden? No, he's talking about the same thing. When he's talking about, that our flesh, he's talking about the flesh, our flesh lusted against the Spirit, and the Spirit against the flesh. Okay, right there in verse 17, right? So the flesh, the Spirit, the flesh, the Spirit, the flesh. So we're talking about the same thing, right? But if you're led of the Spirit, you are not under the law of the flesh. If you're under one, you're not under the other, right? Is that fair enough? If you're under one, you're not under the other. Now, let me tell you what the other is. Now, the works of the flesh, I'm sorry, did I just make that up? See, he says, but the works of the flesh, okay? So he said the works of the flesh are manifest, which are these. And then I just ran down everything that he just said, right? So what are you going to obey? And we're going to go there in Romans too. But what are you going to obey? It's about being obedient. Most of the fight is you. Most of the fight is within ourselves. We keep thinking that our fight is always out there. Some of your fight is out there. But a large portion is within. It's within the heart and the mind. Huge portion of it. I've said in other lessons that, we have the 3 S's, right? Satan, self, and society. That's where your fight is. Satan, self, and society. Self is huge. Is huge. Satan's always lurking, trying to find that weakness, trying to see where you have where there's a crack in your armor. Where's there a chink in your armor? Satan's always looking for that. But it's up to you how you fortify your armor. That's up to you. Society's always coming after you, pointing the finger, telling you you're not doing this right. You know, dietary law, no dietary law. Sabbath, no Sabbath. Saturday, a 7-day Sabbath or lunar Sabbath. Oh, you don't have to do this. You don't have to do that. We're not in our land. Don't do that all the time. What name are you using? Society, right? Those who are without and those who are within, meaning those who are awake or those who are Israel and those who are not. Back and forth, warring, bickering, fighting, back and all the time. See, you see how that's a fight. You have you and your decision making. You have all that. Okay, and everything that he laid out here, the envying, the murders, the drunkenness, the revelings, okay, the witchcraft, the idolatry, the hatred, the variance, the emulation, the wrath, the strife, the sedition, the heresies. That's you. You have to keep from that. And then those things come from the other people on the outside, right? Outside of you, society. Throwing that in your face. Then you know, Satan is always looking for an opportunity to get you, to stumble, to fall, to turn back. To have you live on the side of just sacrifices because obeying means nothing. That doesn't mean anything. You just willy-nilly. That doesn't mean a doggone thing. All the time. Let's continue. Let's start wrapping up. Let's go to let's see here. We go to Ephesians 5, 1 through 11. Ephesians 5, okay? Watch this. 1 through 11. It says, be ye therefore followers of God as dear children, and walk in love, as Christ also loved us, and has given himself for us an offering and a sacrifice to God for a sweet smelling savor. But fornication and all uncleanness and covetousness, let it not be once named among you as becoming saints. Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather giving of thanks. For this ye know, that no whoremonger, nor unclean person, nor covetous man who is an idolater, has any inheritance in the kingdom of Christ and of God. Let no man deceive you with vain words, for because of these things cometh the wrath of God upon the children of who? Of disobedience. Be not ye therefore partakers with them, for ye were sometimes darkness, but now are ye light. Now ye light in the world. Walk as children of light. For the fruit of the Spirit is in all goodness and righteousness and truth, proving what is acceptable unto the Lord. Proving what is acceptable unto the Lord. One more, verse 11. And have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather reprove them. So telling us how we should act, what we should do, telling us what he approves of, what he likes. Telling us exactly what he likes, what he approves of. Exactly. How to be a child of obedience, How to be a child of obedience. Showing us exactly what we need to do. Giving us clear examples of what we need to do, so we can be children of obedience. Disobedience, that comes naturally. You don't even have to be trained for that. That comes naturally. That's what you're fighting against. Let's continue. Let's go to Romans 5, if you will. Let's go back 3-4 books. Romans chapter 5. And pick that one up at verse 12. Romans 5. Okay. See, this is what the Messiah did for us. 12. Okay. In verse 5. Romans 5. Wherefore, as by one man sin entered into the world, and death by sin, and so death passed upon all men, for that all have sinned. For unto the law sin was in the world, but sin is not imputed when there is no law. Nevertheless, death reigned from Adam to Moses, even over them that had not sinned after the similitude of Adam's transgression, who is the figure of him that was to come. Okay, so he's kind of giving us an idea, okay, how sin just reigned. So I'm going to drop down to 18, and we're going to do 18 to 21. 18 says, therefore, as by the offense of one judgment came upon all men to condemnation, even so by the righteousness of one the free gift came upon all men unto justification of life. For as by one man's disobedience many were made sinners. So by the obedience of one shall many be made righteous. Moreover, the law entered that the offense might abound. But where sin abounded, grace did much more abound. That as sin had reigned unto death, even so might grace reign unto righteousness, unto eternal life by Jesus Christ our Lord. Okay, so we know Adam got this thing kicked off. Okay, got this thing kicked off and it reigned. And now Messiah kicked off eternal salvation, right? He is the one who brought forth, who's ushering in eternal salvation, whereas Adam and his sin ushered in death. But the Messiah is ushering in life through obedience. See, Adam and Eve ushered in death through disobedience, meaning not listening to the Father. And Messiah is ushering in life because he is listening to the Father. Obedience over sacrifice. Okay, we got a little bit more. Let's get a little bit more. 2 Timothy, 1 Timothy actually, we're going to do 1 Timothy. 1 Timothy, and we're going to do chapter 2, okay, of 1 Timothy. Okay, and of chapter 2, I'm just going to do 11 through 14. He says, let the woman learn in silence with all subjection. But I suffer not a woman to teach, nor to usurp authority over the man, but to be in silence. For Adam was first formed, then Eve. And Adam was not deceived, but the woman being deceived was in the transgression. And notwithstanding, she shall be saved in childbearing if they continue in faith and charity, in holiness and sobriety. It has conditions on it, okay? If she continues in this, okay? Now, you guys already know that the Most High already has a protocol. The man is in charge, then the woman, and then the children and stuff like that. And when a woman gets out of her play, out of her role, okay, out of her role, then all of a sudden things will go awry, okay? That's it. So we need to be obedience, okay? The man needs to be obedience to the Messiah and the Father, right? And then the woman needs to be obedience to her husband and the Messiah and the Father, right? Like that first line, rank and authority, first line. And children needs to be follow that same rank and order. But that's okay. If you want to get offended and you want to just do what you want, I don't know, I don't think that's right, okay, then you do what you want, and then you continue to have the issues that you're going to have. He has a certain protocol, he has a certain chain of command, even in the family, has a certain chain of command, he has a certain chain of command in his kingdom, he has a certain chain of command, a protocol with Israel, and the Israelites and Levites and things like that. Okay, you have certain priests, then you had a high priest, you had a certain rank and file and protocol. You had that. But again, we don't want to obey that either. We have our own idea. We start thinking, especially if we have some of my sisters, unfortunately, you got some out there, very, very rebellious, and they have their own thoughts, their own feeling, their own mind. And they feel like, I know better than my husband, and I have all that, and not realizing that you're coming from under your covering, right? Your husband's supposed to cover you, okay? You go read in the book of Numbers where he can, take on sins for you. Talk to the sisters, but you can't take on a sin for him. But your husband can take on a sin for you. Protocol. But that's fine. You want to be all upset, think it's chauvinistic, misogynistic, or whatever. You can think that all you want. Obedience is better than sacrifice. Obedience. Let's look at one more place so we can go ahead and get out of here. Let's look at one more place. I want to go to 1 Peter. Let's go to 1 Peter. Go to the first chapter. 1 Peter 1 and first 2 verses. This is Peter. an apostle of Jesus Christ, to the strangers scattered throughout Pontus, Galatia, Cappadocia, Asia, and Bithynia, elect according to the foreknowledge of God the Father, through sanctification of the Spirit, unto obedience and sprinkling of the blood of Jesus Christ, grace unto you and peace be multiplied. Look at what he's saying. To the obedience and to the sprinkling of the blood, or the faith in his blood, or the faith in the Christ, or faith in the Messiah, however you want to look at it. Law, obedience, faith. Obedience, brothers and sisters, is better than sacrifice. It's obedience over sacrifice. Obedience to the Big 10. Some people say, oh, well, no, it's 613. I understand. I understand. It's over 600. I got it. Okay? Big 613. I got it. But obedience over the Big 10. Obedience rather than sacrifice. Obedience rather than sacrifice, dietary law. Obedience rather than sacrifice over feast days. Obedience rather than sacrifice on the Sabbath. Okay? Obedience rather than sacrifice over the protocol, the order of authority. Obedience rather than sacrifice. The reason why I like to point out specific ones, right, is because you have to take this thing step by step. I can't just say, okay, well, here's all the laws, right? Because some laws, had to do with specifically, being in, Jerusalem, or some laws are specifically done to, to Levites. Some laws are specifically to whether or not you have land or not. Some people live in apartments, right? Okay, so I don't want to overwhelm you with all these different types of laws and all that, and just give you this big number and throw it at you, because a lot of times that's what Israel does. They take this big old, look at all these laws, look at Torah, and just throw it at you. See, we got to keep all this. We got to do all this. Let's put it in a way people can understand, that can actually grasp it. And they say, you know what, let me work on this. And when I get this down pat, once I know what I'm doing, it's like the back of my hand, then let me go ahead and tackle this other thing. Okay, I got this Sabbath thing down pretty good. Okay, cool. I got this. I prep consistently. I feel it coming on. I can just set my clock to, okay, boom. Friday, I do this. I get all my stuff, get it ready for the Sabbath. Boom, 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 boom. I got it. Right? Sun goes down. Okay, cool. The Sabbath is on. This is what me and my family do. Okay, boom, we got that. Okay, now let's work on this dietary law. Okay, let's be obedient to that. I got this dietary law. Boom, 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 boom. We're reading labels all the time. We're looking, seeing if something contains gelatin or any other unclean animal that's in there or whatever. Okay, got it. All right, so I got that. Okay, cool. Now let me go ahead and do these feast days. Let's see what you see what I'm saying? Piece by piece by piece by piece. But you're going to let someone come along and overwhelm you, and now you're not doing anything, and now you're completely disobedient. Why? Because it's just too much. It's too much. Don't let someone take it away from you. Let no one take it away from you. Let no man deceive you, and let no one take the truth away from you. Obedience over sacrifice. I hope someone has been edified by this lesson. So until next time, search the scriptures and prove all things. Peace and shalom, Israel.